Good morning, my brothers and my sisters. Just wanted to touch base with you this morning about the protest that is taking place across the country. And I was listening to Steve Harvey this morning, and he had a very, very good point to make. And if you have a chance, you go to steveharvey.com and listen to his closing remarks. We usually protest when we have these level of violence against African Americans across the country. We have seen it with Rodney King. We have seen it with Ferguson, Missouri, and we have seen it with Mike Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, and then we had Trayvon Martin and other protests across the country. And what the government of this country has figured out, and the people, the anti-black people protests have figured out how to stop the protests and change the narrative. So the civil rights was successful. We got our voting rights. We got, integrated schools and all that sort of thing. But in today's protest, peaceful protest always turns into violence, because there are those who want to shut down the protest and silence basically shut up the protesters from complaining about police brutality. And so what they've done, or what they do, is they send agitators into the protests to start a riot. And many of those agitators are police officers. As we saw in Ferguson, Missouri, where a police officer was caught and they tried to grab him and he ran, pelting stones and pelting bottles at the police, so the police would respond now in self-defense. And then it turns into this big riot and beating of African Americans again in the streets. But this time what we have is right-wing extremists, the militia type. The ones who were in Michigan with the big guns and stuff, they're turning up in this protest and handing out bricks so people could break glasses. And we have video confirmation of this. And an individual who we believe is a police officer breaking with a hammer the glass of AutoZone, which started the fire. And so now the conversation is no longer about Mr. Lloyd. It's no longer about him. It's no longer about his murder. It's all about the riot. So they've changed the narrative. And now the President of the United States has gotten his distraction. He tried to distract us with Obamagate. And he has turned the page from the pandemic. We are still in a pandemic. Remember that. We're supposed to be self-isolating, and we are supposed to be covering our noses and washing our hands, and nobody in the protest is doing that. So now the president has got his distraction. He is now the law and order president, going in front of a closed church with a Bible holding it upside down, acting like he is some kind of a Christian. Standing in front of a church does not make you a Christian. Try visiting that church when it's open, Mr. President. So my appeal to you today, ladies and gentlemen, all in solidarity with the protests, peaceful protests, to get off the streets. They're calling in the National Guard, they're calling in the military. To do what? To attack you. And just before that, the president has declared Antifa a terrorist organization. So every single one of you protesters are going to be associated with so-called Antifa. They're even doing it online now, Antifa/BLM. They're trying to make Black Lives Matter a terrorist group. And their organ and right-wing organizations are infiltrating Antifa and trying to cause more problems in this country. They want a race war, and we are very close to that right now. So I'm calling on my black brothers and sisters and all of our supporters who are in solidarity with this movement to end police violence against black citizens in this country. I'm calling on you to get off the streets. It is not going to end good for us. Get off the streets and let's change this narrative right now. We will deal with police brutality. It will happen. But right now, we need to get off the streets. Because there's a whole bunch of people just want to start shooting at you and killing you. And that is Obamacan's point of view.